Ladies and gentlemen, we got some breaking news. Derek Carr's 2025 season may already be over before it even begins. News broke that Derek Carr has a shoulder injury now that may require surgery and will leave his 2025 season up in the air. His future with the team was already a huge topic earlier this offseason. Now with this shoulder injury coming up out of nowhere, how does the shoulder injury of Derek Carr impact the draft? Do they start targeting Shedeur Sanders more, or does Spencer Rattler developing and becoming QB1 become a priority for the team? This is a crazy way to come back from vacation, but I'm excited, man. Before I continue though, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel. We're trying to hit 10K this year, and 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. So double check, it's free and it helps me and the channel grow a lot. That's enough yapping, let's talk about the Derek Carr news. We just got some huge news that Derek Carr may be out for the 2025 season due to a shoulder injury. Ian Rappaport a few hours ago dropped this bombshell of a report saying the Saints suddenly have a major QB question. They already did before the injury, but starting quarterback Derek Carr is now dealing with a shoulder injury that threatens his availability for this season. Sources say to Ian Rappaport, Derek Carr is now weighing options, including the possibility of surgery this late into the offseason, April, possibly May, depending on when it's done, would definitely affect his availability for the 2025 regular season. Now, this is shocking news that I don't think anybody saw coming, and it makes me uncertain about what is currently going on and a little confused, because we knew about the wrist injury that he suffered at the end of the 2024 season versus the New York Giants when he did the stupid dive on second down and broke his wrist, had the fracture, and kept him out for the remainder of the season. We know about the wrist injury, but that wasn't a shoulder injury. We also know about the oblique injury which he suffered week 5 versus the Kansas City Chiefs, which sidelined him for a few games. But that was his oblique, not his shoulder injury. Now, to my knowledge, really the only shoulder injury that he has suffered with the Saints is week 3, 2023 versus the Green Bay Packers. When he got injured, got slammed, he had a shoulder injury and I think a broken rib or something like that. But that was about a year and a half ago, and he played a whole season of extra games of football since then. So where exactly did this shoulder injury come from? Now, I don't want to question the dude's character or his dignity or his willingness to play football. He does it for a career. He's a dedicated guy. He's a tough dude. But where exactly did the shoulder injury come from? What was he doing this offseason that injured his shoulder, which is going to require surgery? And putting some puzzle pieces together, we know that Derek Carr wanted to leave the team this offseason. We all know that his future with the Saints was uncertain at the start of the offseason given the head coaching search, his contract situation. There was a lot of questions about it. But after some time, some reports came out and we found out that Derek Carr was willing to test out free agency in the open market, and he was actually wanting to be traded by the Saints. He does not want to be on the Saints. He did not want to be on the team anymore until the Saints restructured his contract, essentially keeping him on the team for 2025 regardless of what he wanted. And now here we are about a month and a half later after that contract restructure, and Derek Carr all of a sudden has a shoulder injury that requires surgery that pops up. Now, is it possible that it's fake and it's a negotiation thing and he just wants out? It's a possibility. I won't rule it out. But I don't think it is. I don't think this is a thing where it's just a negotiation thing. I think he has an injury, but where did it come from? Why is his shoulder injury popping up now? Because his shoulder wasn't the issue when he got injured versus the Giants. It was his hand and his wrist. So where did this injury exactly come from? I'm not trying to reach. I'm just speculating because that's what people do. I'm speculating, putting the pieces together. He didn't want to be on the team. He wanted to be traded. He wanted to leave. And then a month and a half later, after it's reported that he's essentially on the team, 2 weeks away from the draft, now there's a shoulder injury popping up. It just has me a little confused on what exactly is going on here. I don't think the injury is fake, but I'll also say this. How could you test out the open market and test out free agency and ask for a trade knowing that no team would want to trade for you or sign you if you needed surgery on your shoulder had this hidden injury and would essentially be out for the 2025 season. What team would want to trade and sign that guy if you were to test out the open market? I don't know. I got a lot of questions about this. This is just insane news dropping on a Friday. And I'm going to say this because I got to defend my boy Michael Thomas. People gave him crap for being injury prone and called him injury man or whatever. Can we talk about Derek Carr for a second? In 2.5 seasons with the Saints, he's had 4 injuries that we know of. First the Packers, the shoulder and the rib injury. Then the oblique injury. Then the hand injury or the wrist injury versus the Giants. And now the shoulder injury. If you include the ribs and shoulders as 2 separate things, that's 5 injuries in the span of 2.5 years. This is a guy who they paid $150 million. This is a guy who they invested a lot in, a guy who they wanted to be their franchise QB when they signed him to a massive, massive contract instead of a 1-year prove-it deal. Now, if the injury is real, which I do think it is, I hope he does recover quickly. I don't root for injuries. These guys put their bodies on the line. I hope he recovers well. I just don't know where this shoulder injury comes from. The team, I'll say this, the team is in better position as of right now when he's playing than when he's not playing. They haven't won a game without him. Derek Carr getting injured puts the Saints record prediction probably at like 3-4 wins right now. Like, it's bad. With him, it's probably like 7-ish, 6 to 8 wins. Without him, 3 to 4 maybe. Losing Derek Carr not only affects a lot of things like off the field in terms of the cap, just the relationship between him and the fans and the organization, but it affects the team on the field. Losing him is significant. You lose your starting quarterback who can win you games and is the only quarterback to win you games the past 2 seasons. That is significant. And I do find it hilarious that this news comes out the same week that Derek Carr and his brother put out a trailer for their YouTube channel, which is absolutely nuts. Now, according to Diana Rossini, take this with a grain of salt. She is hit or miss. Take this as a rumor, but according to her, Derek Carr's shoulder development did not come as a surprise to the Saints. Surgery is being contemplated as both sides analyze next steps for the player and franchise. Her saying that the Saints knew about this, and if this is true, this makes the Saints look extremely dumb. It would make sense why the team were doing so much homework on quarterback draft prospects recently, because the team needs a long-term answer at quarterback. And Derek Carr is a fine stopgap who you want to replace. But it is stupid in the sense that they knew about the injury, supposedly knew about the injury, and they still restructured his contract, guaranteeing him $40 million. Paying Derek Carr that much to play on this team, which needs to be rebuilt, was already a steep decision, in my opinion, paying him $40 million to play, given where the team is at. But choosing to pay him $40 million guaranteed, knowing he could be out for the 2025 season with a shoulder injury requiring surgery, is borderline insane and horrible management if it is true. If, that's the big word there. If the team knew about this, they could have found a way to probably cut him and move on. But now, after restructuring his contract, his 2026 cap hit is now $69 million with a dead money cap hit of $60 million, making it even harder to cut Derek Carr next offseason than they would have been able to this offseason. It would have been hard to cut him now. It's going to be harder to do so next season because his cap numbers and his dead money cap hit just increased. And they could have just ripped the band-aid off now and build up the roster, see what you have in Spencer Rattler, and reevaluate a year from now. Now they are stuck paying this quarterback $40 million and he might not even play. And then you have to decide next year what you're going to do with this contract. It is just terrible management by the Saints. All of this adding up together with the previous frustrations over the past 2.5 years, this might make Derek Carr one of the worst, if not the worst, free agent signing in franchise history, up there with Brandon Browner, Jarius Burton, CJ Spiller. But Derek Carr would have to be considered probably worse given the money they gave him Derek Carr, the player, is probably better than Brandon Brown or CJ Spiller and Jarius Byrd, but given the contract and what's been going on, and when you mix it with the DA era, it just continues to get worse and worse. It feels like every single week. That being said about Derek Carr, let's talk about the timing and what the Saints need to do now. This is just horrible timing for this news to come out. The most important thing is because we are now less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. The news now being public to everyone affects the Saints heavily, because now teams like the Giants or Browns, who maybe were not planning on drafting a quarterback like, say, Shedeur Sanders, may be forced to take him now because of the Saints quarterback situation. Derek Carr being out might force the Saints to take a quarterback at 9 if Shedeur falls. But now that Derek Carr's injury is out there, other teams may want to jump them or take quarterbacks before the Saints can, affecting their draft process. To this point, a lot of people, including Nick Underhill, have said the Saints aren't big fans of Shedeur Sanders and that they would be shocked if the team drafted him because they don't like the talent and feel like it'd be a reach. Maybe that was smoke though. Maybe the team was putting out smoke that they did not want to take Shedeur Sanders and that they don't like Shedeur Sanders, because if you're a team, you do not want anybody knowing who you like and who you want to draft. This Derek Carr information getting out affects what teams and fans and scouts are going to be thinking about your team and how it affects your quarterback position. And if it was the Saints' plan to put that smoke out there that they did not like Shedeur Sanders, now that plan is absolutely screwed. They might be forced now to take a quarterback, and I'll say this, I don't think they should take one unless they absolutely love the guy. Like, they don't have to take a QB, but the Derek Carr injury might force them into it as long as they like the guy. But I think they should still take the best player available or the highest graded guy on their draft board. But this affects how they're going to be drafting hugely, because now you get Shedeur Sanders or T-Mac available, both big needs. Who are you taking? Derek Carr being out is going to affect that decision. And honestly, I like Shedeur Sanders, by the way. I'd love to see the Saints draft Shedeur Sanders. And there's been a lot of smoke recently linking Shedeur Sanders to the Saints. And right now, Deion Sanders, Colorado head coach and the father of Shedeur Sanders, put out a tweet responding to the Saints having the 9th overall pick with the eye emoji, possibly linking Shedeur to the Saints. This is getting intense. The team also still does have Spencer Rattler, who showed some really good things, had a whole offseason to work with some of his teammates, have a whole NFL offseason, didn't have to worry about the draft, the combine, the playbooks are getting adjusted. He's getting ready for year 2. NFL coaches have told insiders that they liked a lot of the things they saw on film, but there was also some issues there with Spencer Rattler. He had some flaws, some accuracy stuff, some of the inconsistency stuff is a bit of a concern. Maybe Kellen Moore can help out with that. I'm curious, does Spencer Rattler become a priority? Does he become someone who the team believes in enough to start this season if Derek Carr is out all year? I still think he's a good player, but also if you can get Shedeur Sanders and he's on your draft board, he doesn't prevent you from drafting him. And the Derek Carr injury is also bad timing because the Saints report for offseason training and lifts and workouts next week. So this simply is just not ideal timing. On the bright side though, this does kind of force the Saints to go into a rebuild and a new era. And eventually we'll probably be moving on from Derek Carr within the next year, regardless of if he plays or not. And if he doesn't, well, the last play of his Saints tenure will be him doing a meaningless leap on 2nd down versus the Giants, which for some reason would be a fitting end to his time with the Saints. There's always some nonsense going on with the Saints, man. And here we are talking about Derek Carr and how he's probably more likely than not going to miss a good chunk of 2025. And I guess we'll have to see how things end up getting resolved, but this is not great news to hear in general. Let me know down in the comments below what you make of the Derek Carr news. I'm trying to get this out as fast as I can. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel. We're trying to hit 10K. And I'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Peace.